Hi guys, this is Editing Me, and before I start with the video, I just wanted to say that I did the fixing of this doll without using any safety equipment such as gloves and safety goggles. But I want to say, and I cannot stress this enough, that if you attempt to do the same repair, please make sure to wear protective gloves and something on the eyes, possibly even a mask. Because I only found out later, after I finished the repairs, that the corrosion substance that you will see later in the video can be very aggressive on the skin, and if it gets into the eyes, it can cause some damage to the eyes. So please don't do what I did, and make sure that you protect your skin and eyes. That's all. Thank you so much, and now please enjoy the video. First, I started with laying out a sheet of paper to protect the work surface from any damage and make the cleanup easier later. Then I opened up the battery compartment to assess the extent of the corrosion, but I needed some more light to see inside well enough. Once I could get enough light in there, I could tell that the corrosion appeared to be green and blue in color. I tried to look up what exactly this is, but all I could find is that this substance forms when copper is present in the parts that came into contact with the leaked battery. Also, it seems to be alkaline in nature, as it forms when alkaline batteries leak and start reacting with the metal parts of the battery compartment. This information will be important a bit later. As you can see, I started with gently brushing out the corrosion crystals using a toothbrush. This was just a preliminary cleanup to get the larger clumps out. I started with a soft brush, but had to eventually switch to a harder one. You can see the pieces that came out on the paper sheet. After some time, I checked the inside and figured that this will need more work, so I gave it some more time and brushed as thoroughly as I could. To be honest, I have never done this before, so I was quite nervous, and I was trying to be very gentle to not damage anything inside. I was also extra careful not to get any of the stuff anywhere near my skin or face. Again, I really should have worn safety goggles and gloves, which I cannot stress enough how important that is. So please do not follow my example here, and do wear gloves and goggles if you decide to do this on your own. At one point, I also used a toothpick to try and scrape off any larger bits that wouldn't come off by just brushing. Once most of the big chunks have been removed, I laid the doll steadily on the table and moved on to the next stage, which is neutralizing the chemical reaction that caused the corrosion. For this, I took a small plastic lid and poured a tiny amount of 10% white vinegar onto it. Next, I got some rubbing alcohol, which I only had in spray form, so I sprayed a tiny bit into a plastic cup. Again, I only needed a very small amount. And lastly, I needed a few Q-tips. Here, a bit of chemistry comes into play. In order to stop an alkaline reaction from continuing, we need to neutralize it. Since this doll uses alkaline batteries, we need to use something acidic, which in this case is the vinegar. If you had corrosion from leaked acidic batteries, then you would need an alkaline substance to cancel it out. But I think such batteries are used mostly in vehicles, not so much in toys, which use alkaline batteries more often. So I gently soaked a Q-tip in the vinegar and carefully dabbed the corroded parts. I wanted to make sure that I don't take too much vinegar to not soak the parts completely, but rather just cover them very lightly. Every once in a while, I then checked the inside to see if anything was happening. It took a while to see any changes, but eventually I could see the blue and green substance wiping off. Some of the inside parts were very narrow and very difficult to clean, so I stripped one of the Q-tips off of some of the cotton fluff and then applied the vinegar with this stripped part into the hard-to-reach nooks. Here in Europe, we have these paper Q-tips that are soft, so I could use it this way. If it was made of plastic, I might have needed to be more careful with it. For the most stubborn parts, I then used a toothpick, which I also dipped into vinegar to try and loosen them a little bit better. It was at this point when I started to realize that the metal plate I was cleaning was more of a clip folded onto itself, and that the blue-green substance was also inside the fold. I was actually hoping that there would only be a little of it and that I could just scrape it out using a toothpick. I was really hoping that this metal clip would hold on, but unfortunately, I heard a small crack and I started to fear the worst. Still, I had to get the stuff out of there, so I continued scraping, and then this happened. Oh, oh, this just. Okay, well, that. Okay, I think that's dead. The metal clip snapped at the fold, and not only that, it was actually completely covered with the corrosion. I wasn't sure what to do, but after coming this far, I just decided to clean up both parts of the clip and think about what to do next. To clean the part that was still in the doll, I just used the same technique as before and dabbed the vinegar onto the corroded parts until they came off. As for the part that broke off, I first scraped off as much of the substance as I could using a toothpick, and then figured I could just dump it straight into the vinegar. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it started to slightly fizz and bubble, so I pulled it out of the vinegar pool and used a clean Q-tip to wipe the corrosion off. Again, it took a while, but luckily I was able to get it off completely. After all of the corrosion was gone, I used a clean Q-tip to wipe everything off with rubbing alcohol to make sure that none of the substance or the vinegar stays there. Now at this point, this metal clip didn't look too good and I wasn't sure if I could reattach it or whether it would have been better to just trash it. After all, I don't know that much about battery circuits, but I remembered my dad does, and he used to fix all of our electric appliances at home, so I thought I'd give him a call and ask for some advice. And here I am after the call with my dad, and first things first, we can still figure out whether she works or not. I'm just checking the inside to make sure it's completely clean and dry before we proceed. And here's what I learned. This clip is actually a sort of a spring that is supposed to ensure the connection with the batteries is stable and maintained. So it was originally bent in order to create a springy surface that would press onto the batteries once they were inserted. It's also made of metal to ensure the power from the batteries gets where it needs to. According to my dad, I could still use this piece as long as I could somehow support it to press onto the batteries. For that, he recommended I use a piece of aluminium foil, which I just folded up into a rectangular shape that would be the exact size of the broken spring. The aluminium foil is a conductive material, so it can also help with ensuring the circuit will work. After a bit of fiddling with the size and shape and smoothing it out with my nails, I got it to be the right size, and then I placed it inside the compartment and then placed the broken piece on top of it. Now all that was left was to carefully insert the batteries, ensuring the correct polarities are met, and then to test it.
Can you come to the party?
Oh, she works.
Do you have a pet? Would you like to visit a Western ranch? Let's start a study club. Can you come to the party? Do you have a pet? Would you like to
You
visit a
guys,
Western
to
ranch?
say that I was
Let's start a
ecstatic
study
after
club.
hearing the doll speak is an understatement. Sadly, she doesn't say math class is tough, but she works. I'm so happy. Now, a little advice on how to avoid any issues with the batteries if you do not intend to use these kind of dolls often. Of course, one way is to just remove the batteries altogether. However, if you want them to stay there, as you might want to occasionally use the doll, you can cut off the circuit using something that doesn't conduct electricity, like a plastic sheet. I just cut out a small piece of plastic from the package of these batteries and adjusted the size and shape so that it can fit in there. And all you need to do is just insert the plastic anywhere in between the batteries and the spring. See, she's not working now. Then, when you want to use the doll, you can just remove the plastic and she will work again.
Do you have a pet? Would you like to visit a Western ranch? Let's start a study club. Can you come to the party? Do you have a pet?
For now, I will leave the batteries in with the plastic piece and I will think of a more permanent solution to the broken spring. And as for this video, this is it for now, but please stay tuned for her complete cleanup, which will come later in the future. I still don't have her complete outfit, so it might take a while, but it will definitely be available at some point. But now thank you so much for watching, and I wish you a wonderful day.